As Sylvanas ran for her life, Arthas quickly slayed any she had left behind. Arthas then set his eyes on Silvermoon City, where he captured Sylvanas and claimed her as his vanity prize. She was barely alive and begged Arthas for a swift death, a death he would not give her. Sylvanas was repeatedly tortured, and eventually, once Arthas had had his fill of fun with her, ripped her soul from her body and turned the Ranger General into a banshee. Her mind was still her own, but her body was forced to obey her captorer's every command. Arthas had reached the northern coast of the Eastern Kingdoms. The sea was the only thing that kept him from the Isle of Quel'Danas, where his prize, the Sunwell, was being guarded. Sylvanas, having not lost her elvish will, mocked him, saying that his campaign had ended. But Arthas let out a devilish chuckle, drew his runeblade Frostmourne, and thrust it into the sea, where it turned the large body of water between the mainland and the island into a thick layer of ice that even the Scourge's giant abominations could walk over. There, Arthas used Sylvanas to immobilize many of the elven defenders of the Sunwell against her will with her banshee cries. Her mind wasn't cooperating, but her body had no choice but to obey Arthas and the Lich King's voices. The king of the elves, Anasterian Sunstrider, was slain, and the Lich Kel'Thuzad was reborn from the waters of the Sunwell. Later, when the war against the Burning Legion had ended, Arthas returned to Lordaeron and claimed its capital for the Scourge. There he made some dangerous enemies with the three Dreadlords, Balnazar, Deathrok, and Varimathras. When Arthas suddenly began to lose his powers, the Dreadlords saw this and struck a deal with Sylvanas. She was to assassinate Arthas, so that they could claim the capital of Lordaeron for their own diabolic plans. While Arthas was out slaughtering the remaining humans in Lordaeron, Sylvanas found the tomb containing her body and retrieved it. Thus the Dark Lady was born. It was time for Sylvanas to slay her master. She almost took down Arthas, but was forced to retreat when Kel'Thuzad came to his rescue. While Arthas was in Northrend, at the bidding of the Lich King, Sylvanas slayed 2 of the Dreadlords and took the 3rd, the Lordaeron capital, and most of the Tristful Glades for herself and her new undead people, which she dubbed the Forsaken. Sylvanas also took part in the war against the Lich King, and after the events at Wrathgate, she was put in the doghouse by the rest of the Horde leaders. Translation: she wasn't allowed to do shit alone, ever. These days, Sylvanas has been waging war against the Gilneans, where she's driven them from their lands, and while most of the Gilneans have fled to Kalimdor, she's still fighting with the Gilnean Liberation Front, led by Lord Darius Crowley.
Mr. Crowley!
Sylvanas has proven many times that she's not to be trusted, and her loyalty towards the Horde isn't as absolute as some think it should be. She's gone against Garrosh Hellscream's orders several times already, and it's safe to say she has her own plans for the future of Azeroth.